Hello, good morning, dear students. This is Kaushika Patel from LJ Institute of Pharmacy, Ahmedabad. We have started with the online lectures on general microbiology. In the first lecture, I explained you what is prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell. Now, in the second part, we will understand the ultrastructure of bacterial cell and what is the role of different organelles present within the bacterial cell. So let's begin with our lecture. Now, there are different organelles which are present in the prokaryotic cell. So, you can see here that there are three types of regions present in the bacterial cell. The first external most are the appendages like flagella, pili or fimbriae. Then there is a cell envelope which will consist of capsule, cell wall and plasma membrane. And then third there will be cytoplasm, and inside cytoplasm there will be DNA, ribosomes and other inclusion bodies. Now out of all these organelles present in the bacterial cell, we will focus only on the most important organelles which are frequently asked in the exam. Okay, so amongst the appendages, flagella is the most important organ for locomotion. So we will first do flagella. Then in the cell envelope, the most important part is cell wall in prokaryotic cells. So we have to study cell wall in detail. Capsule is also important, and within cytoplasm only DNA and ribosomes are present. So we don't have to do that in detail, but we will do one important form of bacterial cell, that is spore, in detail. Okay, so let's begin. First, flagella. Okay, now you can see that flagella is a long hair-like structure. It is made up of protein and it is attached to the cell surface, which provides locomotion to the cell. So all the motile bacterial cells will be having flagella for the movement. Almost half of the bacilli, okay, we have already done bacilli. What is bacilli? That is rod shaped cell. Bacilli have flagella, and all the spiral and curved shaped bacteria which can move flexibly, they have flagella in their structure. Okay, now what are the functions of flagella? Flagella helps the bacterial cell to move forward or to move backward. So either the bacterial cell can run in the forward direction or it can tumble in the backward direction with the speed and the direction of flagella. Apart from that, there is one another process that a bacterial cell undergoes, that is taxis. Taxis is the movement of bacterial cell towards some favorable environment like presence of nutrients or away from some adverse environment. So this movement towards or away from a particular stimulus is known as taxis, and flagella helps in the taxis of the bacterial cell. Then the microstructure of flagellum, if you see, then it is having three different parts in its structure. Okay, the first one, filament, that is of yellow color, that is the outermost part which is not attached with the cell surface. It will be very thin in diameter and its diameter remains constant. Whenever this filament moves, it turns, there is movement or propellement of the bacteria in a forward or backward direction. If this filament is detached from the bacterial cell, then it will not affect the viability of the cell. What is viability? Viability is the reproduction or generation of new cells from a particular bacterium cell. Okay, so this filament detachment does not affect the viability of the cell. This filament will be anchored in the second part, that is the hook. This hook will be present at the cell surface of the bacteria, and its thickness will be somewhat more than that of filament so that it can support the movement of filament. Then the third part is the basal body. Okay, now basal body consists of ring systems. In each ring system there is a pair of ring. Okay, Now, if you have gram-positive bacteria, then there is only one pair of rings. If you have gram-negative bacteria, then there are two pairs of rings. Okay, so which are the pairs? The first pair, that is M and S rings, pair of M and S rings, they will be present, this blue one, they are present in the plasma membrane of the cell. These rings are present in both gram-positive and negative bacteria. This M and S rings, they help in the motor movement of the flagella. So when this M ring turns, it transfers its movement to the filament, it propels, and then the bacteria can move. The second ring system is P and L ring system. This ring system is present in gram-negative bacteria, wherein P ring is present in periplasmic space and L ring is present in the outer membrane of the gram-negative bacteria. These rings, they provide support to the hook and to the overall flagella. Okay, so that is the flagella. Now, where flagella can be located? Okay, there can be different location of flagella, and based on that, the bacterial cells will be given different names. Okay, so if flagella is altogether absent, then it is known as atrial cell. If flagella is present at a single pole of the bacterial cell, only a single flagella is present at either of the pole, it is known as monotrichous. If you have a tuft, okay, a bunch of flagella on one or both the sides of the bacterial cell, then it is known as lophotrichous. If you have one or more than one flagella on both the sides of the bacterial cell, then it is known as amphitrichous. And if you have flagella throughout the surface of the cell, then it is known as peritrichous. Okay, now how you can detect the presence of flagella or the movement of the cell? Okay, so the first method is the direct method, where you will directly observe the flagella. For that, you can go for a specific staining method like Lipson method, or you can go for electron microscopic method. Indirect method, second one, in that you will study whether the bacterial cell is motile or non-motile. If it is motile, then definitely flagella will be present. So it is indirect detection of the flagella. Here you have to prepare a slide by a specific method like wet mount or hanging drop, and then you have to observe the motility of the bacterial cell. Third is the motility in the test medium. You have to inoculate the culture in a medium, and then on the next day you have to observe whether that bacterial growth have moved or not. Okay, so these are the three different methods to detect the presence of flagella. Now, if you look at the chemical composition, then flagella have filament at the outermost part, and that filament consists of a protein known as flagellin. Okay, so that is the first organelle, that is flagella. Now, the second important is cell wall. Okay, so cell wall is the part of cell envelope that is surrounding the cytoplasmic membrane. In prokaryotic cells, the bacterial cell wall composition is somewhat complex. It is having a semi-rigid structure that supports the shape of the cell. Now, its thickness will vary depending upon the type of bacterial cell. So that may be 10 to 25 nanometer in thickness, and total cell wall constitution is 20 to 30% of the dry weight of the cell. Okay. So now, what are the different functions of cell wall? So first and most important, cell wall helps the bacterial cell to retain its definite shape, that is sphere or rod. Cell wall will help or will provide a point of anchorage for the different appendages in the bacterial cell, that is flagella, pili or fimbriae. It will protect the cell protoplasm from the mechanical damage or the osmotic pressure or any type of lysis by enzymatic action. It will carry antigens, and these antigens play an important role in the virulence of the cell or the immunity of the cell. the cell wall composition is very important, and based on the difference in the cell wall composition, you can determine the different types of bacterial cells. Okay. Now, how to detect cell wall? Okay. So first, you can go for plasmolysis, where you will lyse the cell. The cell wall is separated, and you can observe that cell wall. Then you can mechanically rupture the cell, separate the cell wall, and you can observe that. You can react the cell wall with the specific antibodies with respect to the antigens present in the cell wall. They will lead to antigen-antibody reaction, and that reaction can be observed. You can go for electron microscopy and directly observe the cell wall. You can go for proper differential staining method to observe the cell wall. Okay. Now, there are 4 types of cell wall, and based on that there are 4 types of bacteria. So there is gram-positive cell wall, there is gram-negative cell wall, there is atypical cell wall, and there is acid-fast cell wall. Now, before understanding what is the difference between these 4 cell wall types, we will understand the basic composition of bacterial cell wall. And that composition will vary somewhat in all the 4 types of the bacterial cell wall. So, the cell wall consists of a macromolecular network which is known as peptidoglycan, or it is also known as murin. Okay, this peptidoglycan have 2 different portions. The first one is the glycan portion, that is forming the backbone, and second one is the peptide portion that is supporting that backbone. Okay, now what is in glycan portion? In glycan portion there is a disaccharide which consists of 2 different monosaccharides, NAM, that is N-acetyl muramic acid, and AG, that is N-acetyl glucosamine. Okay, so you can have a look here in this diagram. So this is NAM, NAG. They are alternately arranged and they form around 10 to 65 different rows. So the backbone of carbohydrate is formed by the glycan portion. Second is peptide portion. What is peptide doing? It is a polypeptide which is containing short chains of amino acids. These short chains will cross-link the adjacent rows that are formed by glycan portion. Here you can see these are the glycan portions and these are the cross chains by the peptide portion. It will have the polypeptide link have a tetrapeptide side chain containing 4 amino acids which are attached to the NAMs in the backbone. Okay, so here you can have a look. This is a tetrapeptide side chain with 4 amino acids and they will be attached with the NAM of the glycan portion. So this is a general peptidoglycan structure that is present in the cell wall of the bacterial cell. Okay, now based on this, we will understand what is the difference between gram-positive cell wall and gram-negative cell wall. Okay, so when you have a gram-positive cell wall, you can see that there is a thick structure containing peptidoglycan layers. There are many layers of peptidoglycan present. So it have a thick, rigid structure. But when you have gram-negative cell wall, there is only a single or few layers of peptidoglycan, so its thickness is less compared to the gram-positive cell wall. But gram-negative cell wall will have an outer membrane outside the cell wall that is absent in gram-positive cell wall, and it also have a periplasmic space below the peptidoglycan layer. Okay, so total 3 structures are present in the cell wall of gram-negative bacteria. What is the chemical composition? Gram-positive organism consists of teichoic acid, whereas gram-negative consists of lipopolysaccharides, lipoproteins and phospholipids which are present in the outer membrane of the gram-negative cell wall. Apart from that, gram-positive cell wall, it is resistant to mechanical disruption because it has many layers of peptidoglycan, whereas gram-negative cell wall, it is susceptible to mechanical disruption. Then lysozyme is a digestive enzyme. Gram-positive cell wall can get disrupted by this lysozyme as a defense mechanism against the bacterial pathogen, whereas gram-negative cell wall, it provides a barrier to lysozyme due to the presence of outer membrane. Gram-positive cell wall is susceptible to penicillin, sulfonamides and anionic detergents, whereas gram-negative is susceptible to streptomycin, chloramphenicol and tetracycline. Okay. We have seen that the basal body of flagella, there is one pair in gram-positive and there are two pairs in gram-negative cell wall. There is a difference in the function between gram-positive and gram-negative cell wall. Okay. Gram-positive cell wall mostly prevents the lysis of cells, whereas gram-negative, it promotes the cell lysis and phagocytosis of the bacterial cell. Now, when we want to determine whether the bacterial cell wall is gram-positive or gram-negative, we will go for a specific differential staining method, that is gram staining. So when we are performing that gram staining, gram-positive cell wall appears violet in color because they retain primary stain crystal violet. But the gram-negative cell wall, they take up secondary stain, that is safranin, and that's why they occur pink or orange in color. So these are the differences between gram-positive and gram-negative cell wall. Third type, that is atypical cell wall. Okay. Now atypical cell wall means there is altogether absence of cell wall, or the cell wall that is present is not containing peptidoglycan in the chemical composition. Okay. So members of genus Mycoplasma, they don't have cell wall. Instead of that, they have a lipid called pterols in the plasma membrane that perform the protective function of the cell wall. Then there is archaea. Archaea also like cell wall, or sometimes they have a pseudo cell wall or unusual cell wall that is made up of polysaccharides, proteins or pseudomurine. Fourth type, that is acid fast cell wall. Okay. Now the name is given like this because this cell wall can resist the staining even by acid fast stain. So it is known as acid fast cell wall. Now what is there in this cell wall that is different? It have mycolic acid, which is a waxy lipid present in the cell wall, and it occupies 60% of cell wall. Due to this waxy lipid, acid fast stain cannot penetrate easily within the cell wall, so it is known as acid fast cell wall. Bacteria of genus Mycobacterium, like Mycobacterium tuberculosis or Mycobacterium leprae, and all the pathogenic species of Nocardia genus, they contain cell wall that is acid fast in nature. Okay, so these are the four different types of cell walls of a particular bacterial cell. Now, the next important topic, that is spore, or sometimes it is also known as endospore. Now, spore is not any cell organelle. It is a resting stage of cell. Okay. Now spore is made up of many layers, as you can see here, but we will come back to this diagram after we have understood how the spore is generated. Then you will have a clear representation of this spore structure. Okay. So what are spores? It is a highly resistant resting stage of the cell. It is produced only by certain bacteria, and when the condition is unfavorable, if nutrients is absent, if there is some danger in the environment, then the bacterial cell converts to spore. This spore is formed within the parent cell. That's why it is known as endospore. Who form spore? Members of genera Bacillus and Clostridium, they can form spore. Now, the spore is formed by a process that is known as sporulation. In this sporulation process, a single spore is formed within a parent cell. So this sporulation process is different from reproduction process, where from a single parent cell, two different offspring cells are produced. Now, this spores, once the parent cell forms spore, it is highly resistant to freezing, radiations, desiccation, all the chemicals. It can survive in this dormant state for thousands of years, and whenever the condition becomes favorable, it returns back to its vegetative state by a process known as germination. Okay? So, how this spore is formed within the parent cell, that is sporulation process. So this is a parent cell. Okay, first DNA is replicated, 2 copies of chromosomes are formed. Then cytoplasm will undergo cellular division and 2 different cytoplasmic membranes will be formed. Now in the third step, invagination of cytoplasmic membrane occurs, that is known as septum, and a pre-spore is started to form. After that separation, a cortical layer, okay, a yellow layer you can see, a cortical layer will be formed, that is known as cortex formation. After the cortex is formed, this yellow cortex will be surrounded by a thick spore coat layer. This spore coat layer will be made up of proteins, whereas this cortical layer will be made up of peptidoglycans. This spore that is formed containing spore coat, it will mature, it will form exosporium surrounding it, and then gradually it will be liberated from the mother cell and a free spore is formed. Okay, so this is known as sporulation process. From within a single parent cell, a single spore is formed and then it is liberated from that parent cell. Okay, so now you can see, we can understand how many layers are there in a spore. So inside there is a DNA, this black one. It is surrounded by this red region that is known as core. Okay, this core is surrounded by this orange layer, that is cortex. Now cortex, inside the cortex there is one inner membrane and outside this brown one is the outer membrane. Okay, so this entire regions where there is DNA, there is core, there is cortex, there is outer and inner membrane, that will be known as 4 spore. F-O-R-E, 4 spore in total. This 4 spore will be surrounded by a thick spore coat. The spore coat is responsible for the resistance of the spore to all the surrounding factors. And whenever this spore germinates back to the vegetative cell, the physical and chemical change is undergone by the enzymes that are present in this spore coat. Okay, so you can see that there are many different layers in the spore that makes it highly resistant. And at the end, when exosporium will be formed, that provides adherence of the spore. So, where the spore will be located within the bacterial cell. Okay, now shape, there can be 2 shapes of spore, either it can be oval or it can be spherical. And it can be located at 3 different positions. Either it will be exactly in the center, that is known as equatorial spore. Or it can be near the end, not at the extreme end but near the end, that is known as subterminal spore. And it can be at the extreme end, that is known as terminal spore. So there can be equatorial, subterminal or terminal spore. How to detect spore? Okay, now spore is a highly resistant organelle. You cannot stain it easily, so you have to go for certain specialized staining technique. You can go for gram staining, you can go for Gill-Nielsen staining where background is stained and spore appears colorless. You can go for Schaefer-Fulton staining method where spores are stained orange in color. What is the chemical composition of spore? It consists of DNA, it consists of small amount of RNA, there will be ribosomes for protein synthesis, there will be enzymes present in the spore coat, there will be peptidoglycan in the cortex, and there will be small molecules containing dipicolinic acid in large amount. This dipicolinic acid forms a complex with calcium, and that's why the complex resists the staining of spore. Okay, now the third cell organelle, that is glycocalyx or capsule. Okay, now what is glycocalyx? Okay, we have already seen that in the appendages, after the appendages in the cell envelope, there can be 3 layers. There can be capsule, cell wall, and plasma membrane. So, glycocalyx is a viscous gelatinous polymer that is surrounding the cell wall. It will be present only in few types of bacteria cells. If this glycocalyx portion is organized and it is firmly attached to the bacterial cell, then it will be known as capsule. But if it is unorganized and it is loosely surrounding the cell wall, then it will be known as slime layer. So what are the functions of capsule? It helps the bacterial cell to adhere to different surfaces and allow them to survive. For example, as mutants, it attach to human teeth with the help of capsule and cause caries or cavities. Then it can protect the bacterial cell from the phagocytosis process of the immune system. For example, beta anthracis that causes anthrax. Capsules present in certain soil bacteria, they protect the cells from drying out or dehydrating. Capsular material may be overproduced when the bacteria are fed with sugar, and then they become the reserves of carbohydrate for subsequent metabolism. The viscosity of capsule doesn't allow the movement of nutrients out of the cell. Okay, now how to detect the presence of capsule? Again, you have to go for specialized staining technique like negative staining, or you have to use mordants to increase the thickness of capsule, or you can go for serological method. Because capsule is an antigenic material, you have to add antibodies and then you have to go for serological reaction to find the presence of capsule. What is the chemical composition? Glycocalyx consists of polypeptide and polysaccharides. So capsule also consists of this chemical components. Okay, so now out of all the cell organelles we have done for the bacterial cell, what are the most frequently asked questions? First, you have to explain spore or endospore. Okay, so in that you have to explain all the points. Wherever it is applicable, you have to draw a well-defined diagram without forgetting, and that diagram should be in the initial part of the answer. Then the second most important question is gram positive and gram negative cell wall. What is the difference between these two cell walls? Then flagella you have to explain in detail. That is also very important question. And sometimes you are asked what is capsule and you have to differentiate what is capsule and spore. So I hope you are able to differentiate that. You can write down difference between definition, what is the function, how to detect them, what is the chemical composition. In that way, by using different characteristics, you have to differentiate capsule and spore. Okay, so this is it. This is the end of our second lecture. I hope you have understood the organelles which are present within the bacterial cell, and you will be able to write them properly in the exam. This comes an end to our cell introduction to cell topic. In the next lecture, we will start with the growth of microorganisms. Till then, take care. Subscribe to our YouTube channel Pharma Ignite for the more informative sessions. Thank you and see you soon.